Hey there, everyone. Mr. Fitzpatrick here with our content lesson for today. We're going to start off with some reminders and announcements. First off, Flipgrid. I want to let you know that the code for Flipgrid can always be found in the name of the class on Google Classroom. If you ever need to use the code to get in, you can go to Google Classroom and find the code. Now, we have been noticing that during certain times of the day, Flipgrid does not always work properly. We're aware of this. If you are having issues, try a couple of things to get it to work. And then if that doesn't work, if you cannot get it to work, if you can't get to record or get into Flipgrid, just let us know. It will be fine. Next announcement, no red ink. Some of you still have not completed the no red ink diagnostic. Pretty soon, that diagnostic is not going to be available for you to take, and you'll have to just lose the credit for that. So make sure that you've signed into No Red Ink and that you have fully completed that diagnostic. And last reminder, if you have any questions or are having difficulty with something, you can please email us. All right, let's get back into argumentative writing and speaking. Our learning intentions, what are you supposed to learn? How to identify and use evidence, and the three rhetorical strategies. Success criteria is the same. This is going to be our success criteria for most of our lessons. You're going to be using no red ink to practice some of these skills. You're going to be doing worksheets, paragraph responses, and ultimately, you'll be writing an argumentative essay. And again, why do we need this? Because throughout your life, you're going to have to convince people to do things for you. You're going to have to convince people to buy things from you, to hire you, to allow you to do certain things. Knowing how to properly argue will help you with all of that. So let's talk about the need for evidence. Anytime you present an argument, your audience is always going to be able to come at you with, well, prove it. You say this, prove it to me. How do I know you're telling me the truth? You want to always have evidence that shows your audience that you're prepared, you have the information, and that you should be taken seriously. Without evidence, your claim falls apart completely. Now, for evidence, we can sort that into a few different strategies. Now, these three strategies are not something new. In fact, these three strategies are over 2,000 years old. Aristotle, an ancient Greek philosopher, tried to break down and explain the art of persuading someone to think in a different way. He thought, what is the art? What is the strategy behind changing someone's mind about something? So he developed what's known as the rhetorical strategies. And they are ethos, pathos, and logos. And those are all the original Greek words. But why not give credit where credit is due? Ethos all has to do with your character, with your credibility. Pathos has to do with emotion. And logos is all about logic and reasoning. So let's first talk about ethos, expertise, and credibility. The reason why you want to use ethos is because it'll make your argument more credible. It'll make it seem like it's valid. It'll get your audience to trust that you know what you're talking about. If you can explain to your audience why you are an expert on the topic, they are much more likely to trust what you are saying. And you want them to believe you when you say that they should do something. Now, in order to use ethos properly, you have to prove that you are an expert or that you have a lot of expertise and a lot of experience with what you're talking about. Another way that ethos comes about is when you bring someone else into your argument who agrees with you, who is an expert. Maybe I'm not the expert on which car you should buy, but I bring in someone who works on cars all the time, who knows what they're talking about, who also agrees with me. So now my audience is not just arguing against me, they're arguing against me plus someone else. Ways in which you can use ethos is explaining your own expertise, bringing your own credentials to the table. If you have a specific education in what you're talking about, if you have a degree or a certification in what you're talking about, bringing that up, explaining that to your audience is using ethos. And if you have personal experience in something, if you can explain how you've used this product for 10 years, and so you know everything about it and you know how good this product is, and that's why you should buy it. Getting quotes and getting the information from other experts, that is another very common way to use ethos. Pathos is all about emotion. Using pathos makes your argument more personal with your audience. It's all about trying to get your audience to feel an emotional connection with what your argument is. The more powerful the emotion is that you are getting your audience to feel, the more likely they're going to join your side. And some emotions are more powerful than others. Feeling sympathy for something, being angry at something or someone else, fear of something, fear of losing something a lot of the times, and hope for something better. These are some strong emotions that are often used to give an argument and to persuade people to do something. Now, using pathos is what we call high risk, high reward. It's a double edged sword. If you use pathos and it works, it can be the most powerful of all three strategies. But if it doesn't, it could destroy everything about your argument. For example, if I am coming up to you asking you to donate to uh, save the whales, and I'm trying to get you to feel sympathy for the whales, to feel bad for the whales. But what I'm saying and what I'm showing you has the opposite effect. Instead of feeling sympathy, you find it funny. If my emotional plea doesn't work, then my entire argument is gone. So using pathos is a little risky, but if it works big. One of the most common ways to include pathos into your argument is through the use of what we call anecdotes, not antidotes. An anecdote, pronounced an neck dote, is a personal story that you tell to your audience. The story can be from your own personal experiences, or you can tell an anecdote of somebody else's. And the point of telling the anecdote is oftentimes to get the audience to feel the same thing that you were feeling in the story. So you use a personal story that the audience will relate to. And if the audience can relate to that story, then they'll feel what you felt in the story, making your argument much more persuasive. Another way you can include pathos is to use specific words that make an emotional connection throughout your essay or speech. Instead of saying that you're the instead of saying that the rival product to yours is not a good product, you can use more emotional words. A tragic product, the horrible effects of this product. You can use certain specific words to try to get your audience to feel a specific emotion towards a specific thing. The last of the three is logos, logic and reasoning. Now, this is what people usually think of when they think of evidence, the facts, the statistics, right? The kind of evidence you would bring to a courtroom, eyewitness testimony, things that cannot be argued against. Using logos is a way to help you defend your argument against the arguments of others. Let's say you and your friend are arguing over what the best food is, and you're an opposed audience to each other. You both disagree. The more logic and reasoning you build up around your argument, the less negative things the opposition can say about your argument. It's building a wall of evidence, it's building a wall of protection around your argument so no one can prove you wrong. The point of it is to convince your audience through rational thought, get them to see common sense. And the most valuable thing about logos is that it can't be argued against. There's no room for doubt, there's no room for opinion in your logical evidence. Logos is most often used in a sense of anything that can be counted or measured, a total number of something, a percentage of something. If you can put it into mathematical terms, then you're using logos. Right? If you say 85% of customers who try this product give it 5-star rating, that's logos, that's logic. You can't argue against things that have been counted and measured. You can also use logos by applying common sense. If you point out an obvious conclusion to your audience, you're using the common sense. You're relying on them to see that there is an obvious connection between two things that you're pointing out. Now that you've watched this video, watch it as many times as you need to get a good sense for the topic. Once you feel comfortable completing the assignment for this video, go to the classwork tab, find the assignment Argumentative Writing and Speaking Quiz number 2. You can watch this video as many times as you need to, but remember you can only take the quiz once. Don't forget that we have our Zoom. It takes place 45 minutes after the start of the class. I'm going to be explaining your primary assignment for the day. You're going to want to be on this Zoom because I will be showing you the assignment, going through the instructions, and if you're not with us, you might be very confused when you open up the document about what you're actually supposed to do. All right, I will see you in our Zoom.